The world at large generally believed that the Americans were doing most of the fighting. This wasn't so. The South Vietnamese army always did more of the fighting. In fact, for all of those years during the Vietnam War that the Americans were committed, I can only remember 3 weeks in which more American soldiers were killed than South Vietnamese soldiers. I preferred to go with the South Vietnamese forces because it was their war. It meant a great deal to them, and they were fighting it on their own terms. I know it was fashionable for the Americans and the other allies to blame the South Vietnamese army for the losses in Vietnam over the years. But in fact, they fought very well, and the Viet Cong acknowledged that. The Americans, they used to call the elephants. They said they bumble around, you can hear them coming a mile off. And they could smell them too, smell their shave cream and toothpaste and cigarettes and things like that. It was like a travelling circus. I mean, Barnum and Bailey were on the way, you could see that. And if you're Viet Cong, you could avoid them very easily.
Move out! Get outside, we'll feel like good.
Americans were burdened down with about 70 pounds of equipment, plus very, very heavy flak jackets, that's armoured protected vests. And on one occasion, I suddenly heard an American yelling out in great fear, as he was, because his hand grenades he'd attached to his pack, his military pack on the back, some of them at least. The South Vietnamese and the Viet Cong used to wear them here, where they could take them quickly and where they could get to them if anything happened. He had them there, and a twig went through the pin of the grenade, and he went on, it pulled the pin out. He had no hope to get to it. He was clawing around trying to get to it, and of course it blew up and killed him.
Not knowing where they are, that's the worst thing. Riding around and running the sewers and the gutters anywhere. Could be anywhere. Just hope you can stay alive from day to day. Everybody just wants to go back home and go to school. That's about it.
You lost any friends?
Quite a few. We lost one the other day. The whole thing stinks, really.
Awful sick of it. I'll be so glad to go home. I don't know. It's the worst area we've been in since I've been in Vietnam.
You think it's worth it?
Yeah, I don't know. They say we're fighting for something. I don't know.
I was with the Americans fighting to recapture Hue. At one stage, a civilian, a young man, came out into no man's land between the Americans and the North Vietnamese forces, and obviously wanted to come across to safety. He was a refugee, he wasn't a soldier. Well, they fired at him, and he ran into a small shed, a boathouse, in fact, and they poured automatic weapons fire into there, quite a lot. But remarkably, he apparently escaped injury. And when the firing died down 2 or 3 minutes later, he ran out waving something white, like a white flag. Clearly, his intentions were very, very clear. The Americans hesitated for just a few seconds, and then the sergeant, in a great bull foghorn voice, I can hear him now, said, "Bullshit, bullshit, cut him down, cut him down."
There, look at hey, he's waving a white flag. Hey, bullshit, cut him down! Cut him down! Cut him down!
It was just one facet of the war which was being repeated over and over again. The lack of compassion for the Asians involved. If that man had have been a Caucasian, a Frenchman or something, well, of course they would have welcomed him across. And I can't, in my heart, blame the Marines. It was their indoctrination, their commanders, and ultimately their government who sent them into that situation without knowing why they were there and who they were fighting with and against, and the type of people in whose country they were fighting. The outlook in my office, that is the Viz News office in London, was that, oh, throw up our hands in horror, it's a little bit controversial. We really don't want to get into that realm. And so it never was shown. There may have been a cut from the film, but certainly the sound recording, the tape, was never used. And it wasn't explained exactly what was happening. There were repercussions. The American military hounded me for about the next 12 months. First of all, to get back that tape, and then indeed to have me expelled from the country. Eventually, I was let off the hook, as you might say, because about a year later, the My Lai massacre, Lieutenant Kelly's infamous massacre in a village in the northern part of South Vietnam, came to light, and the fact of shooting down one man with a white flag was lost and became no more important than just another small facet